is mainly web applications like Gmail, Google Maps, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And Chrome is designed to be, for all practical purposes, an operating system for web applications. And that's what Chrome and Chrome OS are all about. So, I do believe the browser is going to be the center of your experience.
Okay, thank you, Sundar. So, I would like to open up. I think we have microphones here, and we can pass them around. Is there anyone who wants to ask a question first?
Could you talk a little bit about how Chrome OS is actually going to work on devices? Because, like for example, a lot of Taiwanese companies are talking about developing user interface for some of the Android devices that they've made. So will we be able to run a UI over Chrome OS or with Chrome OS, or is that even that kind of thing not really possible? Thanks.
So Chrome OS will be open source. Anytime you have an open source project, pretty much anything is possible. But having said that, as we start coming to market, we would allow customization layers in terms of the initial user experience that's presented to users. It'll be more limited to start with, mainly from a scope standpoint. But as the effort matures, we will allow for more and more customization. So directionally, the answer is yes, but it'll play out over time.
Plan to build the Chrome OS further in the future, and how will you distinguish Chrome OS from Android?
Okay. So our plan for Chrome OS, we are working on bringing devices later this fall. We will be selective in terms of how we come to market because we want to focus on delivering a great user experience. We are thinking at both the hardware and the software level. We are working with our OEM partners to make sure the hardware has the reference components we want because we do things like verified boot. So the security is much better. So we are working with selective OEMs to come to market later this year, and we are very focused on laptops. That's our plan to go to market this year, and beyond that, we will talk about it at the right time.
Could you name the partners? Which OEM are you working with?
The OEMs will communicate at the right time about their go-to-market plans, and you will hear from the OEMs. In terms of how do we think about Chrome OS and Android, these are two efforts we have. Personal computing is a very broad space, and the Android team, which is having incredible success, has started with smartphones, but Android was designed to run on a wide variety of devices, and they focused on that, and they have incredible momentum. We have taken the view where the browser is at the center of your experience, so it's cloud computing with the web at the core of your experience, and we are starting from the point where we are good at, which is Chrome, the browser, and computers. So these are two efforts with different visions. And what is important is both are based on a set of cloud services which users use across all these experiences. And so we are focused on the user and we are trying to deliver a great experience. And where it makes sense, we share code. And there are cases where the right experiences will emerge. A recent example is Google TV, for example. It's based on Android as the operating system, but it uses Chrome as a browser. So you will see these are two large open source projects. And so what excites me is partners will have an option to create interesting experiences on top of this.
Okay, sir, I just want to clarify. So Chrome is a browser application instead of operating system. Android is operating system, but Chrome is just a browser. I don't know.
Chrome OS is also an operating system which will run, but it's effectively primarily based on Chrome, the browser. So you can think of it as, so it's browser-based operating system.
Okay, and Android can use Chrome OS as a browser.
No, Android is a WebKit-based browser, which shares code with Chrome, but it's a different browser. These are two different efforts, two different products.
The Google TV use Android operating system and Chrome as a browser.
Yes.
So what's the characteristics for each types of combination?
Sorry, your question.
I don't understand. So what's the difference and how will you decide which one use Android operating system, which one use Chrome operating system?
We don't decide, right? We are making these two large projects available. Our partners decide. The OEM chooses what they want to bring to market. not us. That's number one. Number two, I think what is very important to understand is we are focused on the user and trying to deliver the right experience for users, and we want to be careful not to prejudge what the right answer is. And we work collaboratively, but we want to give choices in the market to our users.
I just want to get it clear. What's the difference between Chrome operating system and Android operating system?
Sure, let me describe Chrome OS to you because I think people are more familiar with Android. They use it. In Chrome OS, I would encourage you to go back and watch the video of the launch event. Caroline can send the link. We give a complete demo to you. If you take a look at it, it's much more obvious. Think about you boot the computer, you're completely within your browser all the time. It's a web-based experience. You as a user, you don't install software, you don't manage data. Everything is in the web. The machine is stateless. So you and I can exchange machines. I can take your machine, you can take my machine, and we can start using it. Just like today, I can take your machine and use Gmail. You can take my machine and use Gmail. So it's a stateless experience. So it's a very different experience with the web at the center and the browser at the core of that experience. So these are very different efforts.
Okay. Do we have any? Okay.
Hello, Sundar. This is Martin from DG Times. You mentioned that about the open source and ecosystem things that Google tried to use the open source as the solution to build up your ecosystem. One thing I wonder is that you said that many things that ODM or OEM can decide by themselves, but as we know that for Chrome OS, you have Chrome OS and Chromium project. That one is actually the open source part, right?
You're absolutely right. When you say Google Chrome OS is Google's version of Chromium OS, but Chromium OS is the open source project.
Yeah. So actually, I interviewed some of your audio partners earlier, and they say that they joined your Chrome OS project. I want to have the pilot device. They say that Google sets some limitations, like the layout of the keyboard or some other limitations. I wondered, is that because that the Chrome OS is actually at the very early stage of that, actually it is not very suitable to support many, the variety of devices that we have so far?
It's similar to the question he asked, which is when you first come into a market, right? Especially if you're building it for computers, and people have been using computers for a long time, and it's very important that it works for users. So we need to think at both the hardware and the software layer to make sure it's a tightly integrated experience. And we inherently have limited resources when we start with, so we're being focused. That's what the ODMs and OEMs are talking about. But our intent, directionally, as with other open source projects, is to be very broad over time and let the ecosystem innovate at all layers of the stack on top of Chrome OS.
Okay.
What would it take to have Chrome browser as an app inside of an Android laptop, for example?
What would take for Chrome OS or Chrome?
Just the browser to have as an app inside of an Android laptop, because some people are showing Android laptops at the conference, and I just wonder, is it possible to have an app, click, and Chrome opens?
Wait, you can write it and make it work. A browser is very, very integral to the operating system, so you can write it as an app in the marketplace. But there are limitations on what an app in the marketplace can do versus what a real browser needs. So without going into a lot of technical details, I would say it's pretty hard to do, and I don't think that's the right path to build a browser. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Calvin from the Reuters News Agency. We spoke to Microsoft yesterday, and they raised questions about a more fundamental issue of open source. So they're saying that open source is intrinsically wrong because what it means is that a software developer will have to create different versions of the same software for every single computer that runs on Chrome or runs on Android. And they're saying that Microsoft is Windows is a better platform because the software developer only needs one version of the software for it to reach all these people. So is there a defense for that?
I don't want to comment on how, let me talk about, there are several large examples of open source projects which works well. I mean, the momentum around Android and the number of Android devices getting sold, I think is already answers that question somewhat. I think what's very important is that you make it easy for developers to use open source projects. You make it easy for partners to plan
and workaround releases.